excuse the blur a little bit, but we're live.
Yes. Welcome to the Relationship Hour. Hello. So we have myself, we have Kay, and we have Nolan James. And so we kind of did our own little thing. So if you're not here, you kind of missed out on the first hour of the Relationship Hour. But we did promise that we go live for a little while. We won't do it for the whole time. So sorry for those who weren't able to physically join us. But we've already did some of our intros with some of the people who are already here. And so we're going to get started. And Nolan is going to lead us in kind of telling us from the man's heart and point of view about relationships and his take on it and his truth. So take it away, Nolan.
Awesome. I'm really glad to be here with you. And there are two schools of thought I want us to focus on for a moment. One school of thought says, if you are a believer, if you believe in God, you need to be celibate until you are married, right? As well as you need to date in a platonic way. The other school of thought is, I got vibrators, I got somebody for every day of the week, or just one person that I'm pretty much steady with. And I'm okay with that, whether it's protected or unprotected, simply because I really believe that this is the person that I really want to spend my time with and is going to go somewhere. How many of you ever been there? Ah, you've been there. So when you began to think about the relationship advice that you've received over the course of your life, how much of that advice was really good? Just think about a number in your mind. 20%, 30%, maybe 40%. How many of it did you actually utilize when you met the person you're with right now? Now, I don't take it for granted that everybody is married or in a happy or in a committed relationship. Some people just have a situation. And that's sometimes okay if you have a situation because it's on the way somewhere, right? If your perspective simply is, I'm going to date only the people I want to marry, where do you audition? How do you practice? So every commercial you see on TV, someone has auditioned for the commercial or they've been selected for the commercial. So what happens if you allow yourself to think of dating as a commercial, right? Before you go buy the product. Have you ever thought about it like that? Just a little preview of the best highlights of what it can do, the benefits, etc. And then, if you like it, you might go in the store and check it out. Or you may listen to someone else who tried it beforehand and say, but you can't do that in relationships, right? You don't want to go talk to someone else who tried it beforehand, do you? You don't really want to do that. You basically stumble into a situation, meet someone, spend a little time with them, or you get into it right away. Whether we live here in the States or anywhere internationally, people experience the same types of things. Riff-raff, I should have never dated him, she sliced my tires, all these things. And when you start to really realize it's the same stuff that kind of makes people crazy. I believed him. I believed her. And when you believe something like that and someone decides to flip the script on you, they just got finished professing their love for you. You guys had a great time together. The very next day you're walking down the street and you see them with someone else. How do people do that? How do they come into your life and all of a sudden unload all this stuff on you, and then you see them and you knew it was a lie? But didn't you kind of know it was a lie when they were telling you? I mean, a little bit, not even an ounce, But some people are very good. They're real subtle. They can just really lay it on. And eventually, after laying it on, their campaign of the lie, of course, is successful. And you embrace it as something you want to believe. So how about this? If you meet someone and eventually you decide that they're the one for you, at least for a couple of weeks. Let's just put it like that. All right? For a couple of weeks. Isn't that an idea? We have 4 seasons in the year, right? Have you ever taken the time to think about dating someone through the seasons? And how people change through the seasons? Because the way a person may be in the wintertime may not be how they are in the summertime. In the wintertime, they might be Turtleneck City. In the summertime, they may put Daisy Dukes to shame. I mean, we're both hanging out. So when you go through the seasons with someone, you begin to see how they operate in such a way where the environment has changed and how you can interact with them in a way that allows them to be revealed to you. It allows you to also be revealed to them. Isn't that what you want? Don't you want someone to know you? Don't you want to be revealed to someone? You want someone, as they say the phrase, love your dirty draw, right? I don't know if anybody's ever gonna love your dirty draws. I don't know. They can pretend, we can all pretend, but I don't know. Some people don't even wear underwear. They just put their clothes on. So we can't say that across the board. At some point, we begin to realize that there's something on the inside of us that wants to relate, and we're calling out for compassion for where we hurt, passion for what we want to experience, and an experience that's really, really nice. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah? You kind of want that, right? An experience that's really, really nice. But what if you go through the seasons with someone and you have no idea if they are really nice? Because you haven't cracked through the outer layer, veneer of their presentation. What if? What is one of the ways of cracking through the veneer of the presentation? One of the ways may be working on a project together, right?
What kind of project?
Any kind of project. It could be moving 100 rocks from the front yard to the backyard. It does not matter. But a project that's long enough to kind of see the person and see how you interact with the person as well, right? So when you get on the 15th or the 25th rock and they are complaining, but you are the one thinking, I'm just happy to be here with you. They were not thinking that. But what if you did move the 25th rock to the backyard or what have you, and they never complained, and they just talk to you and you talk to them and both of you related, and it wasn't necessarily about moving the rocks. It was about making sure both of us had a good experience. So what if you began to date, whether you're married or not married? What if you begin to date the person you're with the mindset of, I'm going to give them a good experience, and I'm going to allow them to give me a good experience too? Does that kind of shift a few things in your mind a little bit? As opposed to, do you have good credit? As opposed to, tell me about yourself, which is the number one worst question you can ask a person on a date. So when you say, tell me about yourself, you have redefined the situation. It's not a job interview. You're looking for someone to relate to. So if the goal is to relate and you put the person on the spot, tell me about yourself, you have just disconnected. You've isolated them away from you, as if you are the authority to evaluate. What gives you the right to be the authority to evaluate someone else without qualifying yourself first?
That's true.
So to qualify yourself first, it may become important to relate a little bit beforehand so you can earn the right to ask that question and get an authentic response. See where I'm going with this? Inside of all of us, we're made up a certain kind of way. We have our bodies, right? We have what we call the spirit, if you will, and we have the soul, right? 3 parts, right? Think about this in the context of how you relate to your mate and how you relate to the person you may want to become your mate. Okay. You have your spirit, soul, and body, right? Inside of each of us, we have this area that's known as the soul. We know this. I don't want to get too philosophical, but I want to make a point that allows you to understand something that you may have visited one time in your life, but it probably just brushed past you, and I want to bring it to the forefront of your mind. Can I do that? Will you allow me to do that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you have this soul. Inside of your soul, you have your mind, your will, emotions, intellect, and imagination. Say it with me. Mind, will, intellect, emotions, and imagination. To the degree that you are relating to someone, here are the areas that you want to relate. We are all going to find somebody to touch a body. They're letting me touch them right now, but I'm not touching them in a sensual way. If I were to touch them in a sensual way, it would change the response back to me, right? Okay, what about if I touch a person in their mind, in their will, emotions, intellect, and imagination? What if I touch you there? Now I am touching you. And if I do a good job in touching you in your soul, you're going to give me the body. Hello. So I'm just saying. Hello. So all of us have been designed. All of us have been designed to give our bodies away.
But we give our bodies, and they don't even have to touch our mind. We give our bodies first. We give our body first.
So check this out. If you're going to work, if you've ever worked a job, if you've ever gotten a check, you gave your body away because you showed up with all of you. You did whatever you had to do to get the check, right? All of us have been conditioned to give our bodies away. But from the beginning, that was not supposed to be the case. It was not supposed to be the case to give our bodies away so cheaply.
Why are you shaking your head? He's preaching right now. Because you're going deep with it. You tell us what we don't think about, the stuff we just get into relationship.
Let's go into some deep water. You've been patty cake long enough. You've been messed around with long enough. You've been told sweet lullabies long enough without getting underneath where we really live. And I mean literally down into the mitochondria of who we are. In the blood and the bone, the marrow, all in there is what I'm talking about. So if you bring to the forefront of your mind this area of the soul, right? Mind, will, emotions, intellect, and imagination, right? When a person is trying to date you, if you are also married, if you bring this to the forefront of your relationship, you begin to operate on another level. So if you understand how to tap into a person's mind, well, how do you do that? Notice how it's done in the movies. Lights, camera, and action. Lights, what do I see? Camera, what memories are you going to create for me? Action, what are you doing? You're catching me so far. Yeah. Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you? I just want to know. Yeah.
It's hard for people to like when you stepping on their stoves. They be like, oh.
Yeah. So when you decide that you see someone and they have a nice body, we know a lot of people in the media and otherwise that we see on TV, beautiful bodies. But what happens?
You open their mouth.
Some things are out of order.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's hard to get those things back in order to relate to them. Remember, the goal is to relate, right? And if you play a different game than the other person, most people are trying to get the body, right? But if you are a good Christian, you know the devil's trying to get the body too. To inhabit areas on the earth, right? Let's take it down a little bit more. If you just give your body away, how do you begin to collect yourself if you're no longer a virgin? If you're not a virgin anymore, then how do you get it back? How do you collect yourself back to yourself so you don't necessarily have your body spread all around the world? Because if I give you my body and you go to Zimbabwe and I give you my body and you go to China, there's a piece of me you carrying over there.
That's the truth.
How do I get it back? You get it back by what you say. You get it back by repositioning your understanding of what you say and your habits. Let me demonstrate to you. If I want to call myself back to me, I'm the owner. I'm the owner. What's your name?
Terry.
What's your name?
Okay.
Kay, Terry. I call my body back from you and I cut the tie that I had with you, and we are no longer in communication, and the memory of you is disintegrating from my mind.
We got the communication. That's
Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Have you ever said to yourself, I'm going to disintegrate even the memory, but you were not angry? Did you do it when you were in a place of love? Yeah. See, sometimes we kind of get pushed to the peripheral, and we get to the edge and we say, you know what? I'm not going to stand for this anymore. This is a great place to be. But a better place to be is to begin to operate out of a love place. But how do you really get into that love place if you've never really experienced it? Right? Let's unpack a little bit. If you've never began to experience love from the inside, if I have some friends of mine, their mother died when they were 2. They wouldn't recognize their mom if they saw her on the street. The father never talked to them since they were born. Wouldn't even recognize the father. Someone touched them inappropriately at a certain time in life, and it's not what they wanted, but they were too young to defend. How do you call those things back?
Right.
This is real stuff, because when we start to think about how we're relating to someone else, we have these things in our minds, which are scripts running all the time based on our experiences and the things we've learned and been involved in. So at some point, we have to begin to reconcile ourselves together. Now, how do we do that? We get in touch with our own mind, our will, emotions, intellect, and imagination. In my mind, I set the parameters of the boundary, right? In my will, I determine what I'm going to do, right? Not my will, but let your will. In my will, I determine what I'm going to do. In my emotions, I do not allow my emotions to run rampant, because my emotions will lie to me, because it will always take the path of least resistance.
She made a face like
She's testifying. Yeah, your emotions will lie to you if it's not tempered with some other things, like some logic, like the boundaries you already set in your mind before you arrived in that situation. So you got your mind, will, emotions. Now there's this intellect. You ever met someone and you knew they were not on your level? You knew they were not on your level, but they were so fine. They were so fine. And you said to yourself, you know what? I know. But if I could just get a sample, my life will be different. Yes, I'm telling you.
I have a question
Yes.
for you, and sorry to interrupt you.
Please.
But if you're getting your emotions intact and you're trying, because that is the biggest component. You know, the will, like you said, let your will be done. But, you know, you got to have that willpower. But if you're getting your emotions intact and you're trying to figure out, how do I get this under control? Does that come from the will? Like your whatever willpower you have or whatever will you're having be done, where you're trying to get, you know, reclaim yourself back? Then how do you get those emotions back intact?
If an alligator walked in the room, we'd all run out, right? It doesn't require any willpower for that, right? That's survival, right? The emotions are always trying to survive. So when you look at what happens in the mind does not want to change. It never wants to change, and it has a direct link down or download that links to the emotions. And to the degree that the mind does not want to change, you have to train it. When you begin to train your mind, your emotions begin to get aware of new set points. You see what I mean? Am I answering your question?
Yeah, like mental boundaries almost.
So mental boundaries is one thing. You can say, oh, no, I'm not going to eat this chicken over here. I'm not going to have this piece of cake over there. And that's fine. Willpower will fail you on that. Your mind and your boundaries will fail you on that. But you have to get the training. So there are times you may go down to the refrigerator at 2 in the morning and you will say, wait a minute, I know I'm not supposed to be in this refrigerator eating this tiramisu or cookies or whatever it may be, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you get tired of disappointing yourself.
Okay.
And then you get to a place where you say, you know what? I'm better than this. You just had a new set point right there. I'm better than this. The guy who knocks on the door, it's midnight, making that call, sending that text, and hey, I'm in your neighborhood. Okay, that's nothing. You're in my neighborhood. Why would I respond to that?
Why would I answer?
Do you have a flat tire? Why would I respond to that? If I responded to that before, and now he or she is conditioned to give you that again, hoping to get the same result,
Yes.
the training has taken place.
Yes.
You have to retrain that situation. Even if emotionally you're at home biting the covers. You're biting the covers and you're like, oh my goodness. And can't sleep like Nia Long in Love Jones.
Yeah,
you can't sleep because you want some company.
Yes.
But later on, after you get the company, and now you're double disappointed. Surfaces, you have double disappointment.
Yeah.
What do? Now your emotions tricked you. Isn't that right? So if you allow yourself to train your emotions by training your mind, a lot of people say we need to have emotional intelligence. Where emotions has no intelligence except what comes from the mind. So if you're renewed in your mind on how to relate in these 5 areas that I'm talking about right now, your emotions by default gets a new training regimen implemented. And to the degree that you stick to these 5 areas in terms of how we're made, our minds, our will, emotions, intellect, and imagination. Now let's move on. So we talked about the first 3, mind, will, emotions, intellect, imagination. Mind, will, emotions, intellect, and imagination, right? So if a person is smart, they're sapio. You heard a person say, "Oh, I'm sapiosexual." Please. Please. You know good and well you want somebody to go in your stuff and do something to it. You know it. You want someone to treat it nicely. Or beat it up, or whatever you want it to do. I'm just whatever you want it, right? Whatever you want it. And so by the time you get to the place of understanding what the intellect is in the other person, you've already traveled through these other corridors, so to speak, and you've already shared your body. Now, I know that Christians will tell you, if you're a good Christian, you need to be abstaining from physical intercourse with another, right? And then some people will tell you that that is the godly way. I grew up in church. Many babies were popping up in church. Somebody was doing something. So now that we understand that that is the measure of that environment, what we're not supposed to be doing, but yet we all have these desires going on, and they're supposed to be there. You're not supposed to pray, "God, take the desire from me." No. At that time, if you desire to not participate physically, and you are subscribing to this school of thought or this belief system of abstaining, then you need some systems in place and some training so you can maintain your commitment. Prayer is not alone going to keep you. It's not. Because if that were the case, there's some preachers who are married in the church would not be having babies even though they're married at the church.
Today, Jesus.
And you know some who are doing that. It's not for me to judge. I'm just saying we know some.
It's the truth.
And we just know some.
Yeah.
So what do we actually need? We need the training to take place, right? Now sometimes we have heard that people who are crazy have been locked up in a straitjacket, or they've been put in the padded room. You heard that? You heard that?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever walked into a padded room by yourself? It's not something that you do, right? Someone would have to take you and put you in the padded room, right? But what if you took yourself not into the padded room, but you allowed yourself to be separate for 5 minutes in a quiet place and listen to yourself? Just to hear what you're telling yourself or what you think is being told to you. And maybe empty out all those thoughts, all the stuff you got going on. Empty it all out so you can be silent. You know, there's this thing where if you were to sit in a place long enough, you begin to hear stuff. If no one else is around, you begin to hear stuff. And especially, let's say if you're in the woods and no one else is around, you begin to look around like, I never heard that sound before. Mm-hmm. Some people have never heard their own heartbeat because they're always busy or they're always trying to give it to someone else. Your true power begins to get developed when you intellectually even decide, I am going to rescue my own heart. I'm going to allow my heart to beat, and I'm going to listen to it. Where does this come from? At one point, babies used to be put on the mother's breast and hear the heartbeat, because inside the womb, what did the baby hear? The baby heard the heartbeat. So when you see a man talking to a woman, or a woman talking to a man, or whatever have you, a lot of times we put the person on our chest, especially if they're hurting, right? So there's a couple of people that you need to think about having in your life. You got to start thinking about the person who allows you to put your head on their chest. Now we're getting someplace, because you don't walk up to people trying to put your head on their chest. They'll be like, what's going on, right? But then there's some people who need to put their head on your chest. And you need to put your head on some other people's chest. So that means you have to be the support for someone and allow some other people to be the support for you. Yeah. So you're not so busy all the time. You're in a place of restoration and a place of gaining ground.
That's good.
Right? Am I going too deep? I don't want to go too deep. Are you catching what I'm saying? Is this good? Is it good? Okay, all right. Just a little further, and then we'll transition a little bit. So if you are married and you are in a relationship, right, and you have made some determinations intellectually to say, this is what I'm going to do. What happens when you let yourself down? What happens when the person calls and says, I'm in your neighborhood? Well, I just flew in town, and all of a sudden, you know how good it was last time. And you know you want it. You know you want it. What's stopping you from getting it? That's just for you. What's stopping you from getting it? Because willpower can't keep you. Your emotions are like, hey baby, whatever. It's like water, the path of least resistance. Let's flip the script. What if you just say yes? You weren't expecting that, were you? What if you just say, yes, come on. Yeah. What if you continue to say yes? How will you feel? Where will you take yourself? Yeah, it takes a different kind of mindset right there, doesn't it? Keep saying yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm in town. Okay, come over. I'm in your neighborhood. Oh, yeah, come over.
That devil.
Yeah. I was just home by myself watching TV. I could go for some company. And they already know how to do what you like. But what if it's your girlfriend or your guy friend who all the time is trying to come over, and they don't mean anything bad by it, they're just taking up your time. Because they're trying to unload on you, or they're trying to get you to see something their particular way. And you're a good friend, so you're just being a good friend.
Same thing.
So we go through these things in our relationships, but when it comes to how we date and interact and relate in certain ways, we basically say, wait a minute, how am I growing from this?
That's it.
This last thing here is about the imagination. When a person really, really likes you, they're going to help you imagine. One of the first things they're going to do is help you imagine something. Imagine us being together. Imagine us going to this place. Imagine us just having a great time. Imagine how fun it would be if we went here, right? Imagine how fun it would just be if we just allowed ourselves to just have some ice cream together, you know, or whatever it is that you want to enjoy. Do you know there's some people in relationships giving their bodies to people who don't even help them imagine? When you visit the future on the canvas of your imagination, it allows you to paint something that hasn't happened yet. And when you paint something that hasn't happened yet, you create a picture that allows you to set a goal to go towards. Most of us would like to say, I'm in this relationship and it's going to go somewhere, right? We want it to go somewhere. But a lot of relationships can't go because there's no picture. So if you're dating, a good question would be not where you see yourself in 5 years, not that question. But when you think about dating, what's the ideal situation for you? Oh, that feels different, doesn't it? When you think about relaxing, what's some of the ways you like to relax with another person? These are the questions, right? These are questions. These are different questions as opposed to asking them to tell me about yourself. You do a little work, make a little effort. And so you say, you know, I really don't have any kids right now. And what I like to say, I don't even have any on the way. You know, I like to say that, make it real clear. I don't really have any on the way. But you know, if I did have kids, you know, sometimes I can just imagine, I just want to take them out to the park sometimes, you know, and do a picnic. Do you like picnics? Now, I never asked you right there if you like kids. I asked you if you like picnics. But I also told you that, man, I guess, you know, if I had a kid, I would want to go on a picnic. Now I've created a picture. You see how that's different? This is just the relationship skills. You can just put that right in your pocket, use it anytime, especially if you're seeing someone who is upset with you. How do you deal with somebody who's mad with you? You know, they're mad with you and they don't want to hear what you have to say because you probably did the same thing another time and they told you don't do it. And you did it again and you're like, oh man, I did it again. I'm sure you don't know anyone like that. I'm sure. I'm sure. So what do? You have to become the person who shifts a little bit from just putting your heart on the line to a person who says, let me help you see. Right? So you have to basically become a storyteller. This is good stuff, isn't it? Right? I don't mean tell false stories, but I mean, let me tell you a story to help you see the experience that I'm having. Because if you can create a word picture in their mind, you have created something else adjacent to their emotions. And if they care about you, transformation has been open to take place.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that making any sense? And that's what you want, right? You want that transformation to take place. And when it does, what happens after transformation? Closer relations. Right? What happens after closer relations? The opportunity for massive growth. So the woman who goes into the relationship saying, oh, I only date with a purpose to get married. And no. Don't talk to me about getting married. I don't even know you. Don't talk to me about having kids. Oh, I just want to date with a purpose. I've heard this stuff, and it is the most ridiculous. A man will tell you he hasn't even decided what's happening yet. He hasn't even thought about past your aesthetics what's happening yet. He's looking at something on you that looks fine, that he likes, something you said or something you did, and in that moment. That's it. Now you've taken us down the river, getting married, having kids, and all that. Maybe the approach could be, I'm I'm not saying it should be, maybe it could be, we are going to relate. How are you? How'd your day go? Yeah, I feel like I want 20 kids right now. But you don't even know my middle name.
Right.
You don't even know how I am in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm different in the winter. You don't even know if you want this.
Seasons.
So you want to sign a contract without even looking at the terms. If you are a company pulls their information together. They go through getting all of their paperwork together, and before they go public, they have what's called a quiet period. No officer in the company can talk about anything in the company. In your relationship, what would happen? Before you go to the next level, you have a quiet period. What about you approaching your relationship with a quiet period? In your mind, eliminating your chaos, managing your own crazy. Right? What would happen if you allowed yourself to manage yourself?
Why y'all laughing? You trying to manage your crazy?
Yeah. So let me wrap up my thought here. I'll wrap up my thought. So if you shift a little bit and take a perspective of, let me begin to relate to this person's mind, will, emotions, intellect, and imagination, you're going to get everything you want if you do it well. But you have to be patient. You can't go too fast. Now there's a time to go fast, but I'm just saying, you gotta be patient. Take it easy. I don't mean take it easy to the point of you're lackadaisical. I mean take it easy and allow growth to take place, to develop. Corn doesn't develop overnight. No crops develop overnight. And when it does develop overnight, what happens? There's no root to sustain. And what do you want? You want what can't be seen to manifest in the seen. That's why I say
it again.
You want what can't be seen to manifest in the seen. So that's why I say the mind, the will, the emotions, the intellect, and the imagination. That's the not seen that can be seen. You got me? Awesome. Matthew.
And you know what? I think to be fair to the people that came, we should stop the live so they can ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can stay live and still answer their questions or your thought process, especially in how you end it, and saying, like the root, the root and how we want to be, it says planted by the river, planted like a tree by the river, so we don't, when you think about saying being patient and figuring out how you're going to grow together, but I mean, and you can tell me from, your point of view as a man, and from me, I want to grow with you, but I think when you talk about seasons, so if you're in winter and I'm in summer, we're in two different seasons. We're not really going through these seasons together, and we go through these seasons, then, but I know you're not there, like you have not necessarily gotten there, but in my head, I'm like, but I need you to hurry up and get there. I'm thinking that you're saying, let's grow together in this relationship. Let's grow together in who we are in this season. If I said, I don't really want to grow with you because do you think it's true that people get in relationships when they're not ready? Like whether it be man or woman, they're not ready financially, they're not ready mentally, emotionally, they've not divorced all that other stuff that they already had attached to them, and they get in and then they start to attach those same problems to you. And so they're not growing. And so what does that mean for the other person? Like if you've not
It means
grown,
be my friend.
Okay. It doesn't.
It means be my friend.
That's exactly right.
And in fact, each party must decide if it's friends with benefits or just be my friend. Just be my friend, and we're friends. That's great.
Because we're not ready to be in a relationship.
I'm not taking you home. You're not taking me home.
Exactly.
Great. Be my friend.
We're not claiming each other.
Because you are not designed, even as a woman, to work on a project.
Oh, wait a minute.
You are not designed.
I'm just saying.
Women bring life into the earth, right? You birth life into this whole system. You're not designed to work on the project. You're designed to bring life. And the person, the man, if you will, or a woman, whomever you choose, if this other person is not in your season, how are you going to give birth with a person who's not even in the same season?
I just had this conversation last night. That's why
you cannot. So if you want to go work on a project, it's going to wear you out. As a woman, you are designed to be served. You're designed to be catered to. You're designed to be appreciated as a gift. Now, in our society today, we like that, don't you? In our society today, we have some things kind of different. A lot of people say, oh man, don't be chauvinist and don't be that. But why is it that men don't have babies and have to take off work? Why is it that women are even going to work? Because they need something to do, right? But when you look at entrepreneurship, women lead the field. Women have been designed to own stuff and be served and have servants. I'm gonna give you the story.
Of our mouth.
I'm gonna give you the story. Women have been designed to rule with dominion, right? This is what was told to the guy in the garden, right? But when the rib was pulled, and he says, look, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh.
Come on.
What did she get to? She got dominion, right? But she has so much dominion and power. When she gave him the fruit, what happened?
Ooh.
She influenced the one who had the initial dominion.
That's it right there.
She did. And he was like, oh, okay. And he did what he did. And what happened? We can see what happened after all that, if you believe that. Let me take it into a secular sense. There are warriors, ancient warriors. This is a little graphic, so I'm gonna try to fix it up. The guys would go out to battle. Before they went out to battle, they would spend the evening with their woman. If you watch the movie The 300, they do this in the movie The 300. They would spend the evening with their woman. Well, why would they do that ancient times? So that they could meet their woman orally and drink her juices before the battle for strength and life. Who gives life? The woman does. So if I'm going into battle, I want that life in my mouth, in my body. I know. It's a different thought, right? What about if you're with a guy who's going on a job interview? And for him to feel vibrant, or we say have that glow, he needs to drink. It's not in our society today. But when you look at who gives the life, I know you're like, man, hold this now, hold on. Seriously. Yeah. So when you look at how things have gotten twisted, there's no society on the planet who excels without honoring their women. None. You must answer the woman question. What is the woman question? Are you going to serve a woman or not? Every man on the planet has it built in us to find a woman to serve. We must do it. Even if he's gay, doesn't matter. He must. We must have a woman somewhere that we are pleasing. And if you're the woman who's too difficult to please with the skills that man has, he must find someone else. He must.
That's the truth.
Because as a man, we need to drink from that fountain. And if it's not literally, we need it through encouragement. We need it through nurture. We need it through other avenues. We need to have that. I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to tell you. If you look at someone like David Beckham, did you know who David Beckham really was before his wife got with him? She hooked him up, didn't she? I mean, she hooked this guy up. Think about how many men never really came on the scene and never really did what they really could do in their potential until they got with a woman who could see around the corner, who could cover their blind spot. That's why as a man, we don't know the powers of every woman that we meet.
That's right.
But what the mothers, so to speak, would say, baby this or baby that, or sometimes he's no good. or she would tell you, you need to stick with him, right? He's not beating you, he's not doing all this other kind of stuff, none of that business going on, but you need to stick with him, he's a good one. And when you get that from the mothers, you kind of have some sense of direction.
Right.
But we've kind of lost the mothers.
We become our own mothers.
Right.
With the wrong information.
We've lost the mothers to train the young women.
That's right.
So the young women are like groping in the dark. So the young men are also groping in the dark because all of our calibrations are off. And one of the ways to bring it back together is silence within yourself. Manage yourself so that you can present yourself as something more useful than you probably ever were before. Are you catching what I'm saying?
No, I get it. I mean, that's such great information, like being in, like you say, I mean, with the companies being private, we need to become that person. You know, all that you're saying is so true, but I think we start to manage our own selves. We start to manage our own emotions, and you've not been good at it. If you have a track record of not being good at it, then, you know, I say every week on this, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. We are not managing our emotions. We go off of what feels good. But, you know, it's because of when somebody say something good to you and that makes you feel good, but nothing that they do, they don't show any consistency in their actions. And that's that growth that you go together. If you go through them seasons, you'll start to see whether they're inconsistent or they're consistent. So you be like, let's go to summer together. Let's go through winter together. And then you start to say, okay, they may not be the same, but they're not complaining because they're only at the 15th rock. You know, they're not doing these things. And so then you start to grow with them. But this is what I find in women, and I can say I've been that person where I wanted to push their growth. Come on, you can, you know, even though we fall in love with potential that we see in somebody that they never even see in themselves, and they never even attach to their own potential, and we want that person to be something that they really don't even believe they can be, and they're okay with where they are. They're like, I don't want to go there with you. You know, let's just be here. Like you said, then you have to decide, are we going to be friends?
Yep.
And then you also have to decide, they'll say, well, let me get myself together. Am I still available when you get yourself together? Because see, now you put yourself not in a silent period, but a waiting period and a hopeful period that I'm hoping, hope against hope, that you're going to get your life together. You know, that you're going to come. And I can put that blinder on and say, but I see this.
Why do you want to blind yourself?
I don't, but you know how you say the blind spot? I'm saying I could put a blinder on, but if you're not showing me, you know, your actions speak louder than words. That's the truth.
But a person can't show you something so different overnight.
Well, they can't. That's why I say the seasons. When you said let's go through the seasons together and we're growing, you know, but you also, what you made a very good point, let's be friends. We're afraid as women to be friends because we're so afraid we're going to lose him to somebody else.
Let's be friends without sex.
Let's be friends without sex.
And if we can be friends without sex, it puts us in a different category of appreciation. It puts us in a different category. Let me answer your question that we talked about earlier, which is, well, how do you know this is the person that you really should date or a person that you should say, you know what, I really just can't do this with you. There are a lot of things. Your instincts will tell you, your animalistic instincts will tell you this is the person you should date or a person you should stay away from. That's number one. But if you look at how we are made, throughout all of our brains, we have these brain waves happening. And we know them from being gamma, theta, beta, all these kind of brain. There's 5 different major types, right? I don't want to get too deep in that. But if you understand the kind of wave, if this person is intense, like a type A personality, this person is aloof, they are just non-existent in trying to relate. This person is semi-engaged, and then you start to see how you are in relationship to that. In the book that I wrote called The Date Test, I put all this in the date test so that you know how to pick a person based on their dominant brain wave, which most people are not conscious of, but they're showing you all the time. So now you have a secret weapon. Because who's talking about, oh, I met him because of his brain waves? No one. But it's within all of us. When you go to the doctor and they put EKG on your heart, what are they looking at? Waves. When are you doing brain surgery? Same thing. They're looking at the electro waves in your brain. It's controlling our behavior. And you want someone who's going to act right. So if you choose wrong, you're going to choose a person who's not going to act right. So one of the best defaults is, there are only 5 major brain waves. Let me see which one this person is. Now I know how to interact with them. I know that's a little deep. I know it is. But it does get your answer with a higher degree of success. Yes.
I do have a question for you. What advice would you have for someone that is dating someone that's good for them? And I mean that in a way like everything that I want this person has, but the emotion is not there. I'm not emotionally attached to them. I don't feel anything, but I know they have every trait that I want. What advice would you have?
So they have the trait that you want,
but I
you
can't
don't feel emotionally
attached.
about it.
Right.
Just frankly, this person is not for you. In fact, you're not for them either. You don't need to work like that to be with somebody. I'll just put it very plainly. If this person's not engaging you emotionally, and you're not feeling it emotionally, you're not wet, no. Forget about it. Forget about it.
It's the truth.
Why do you have to do all that work? You're going to have to do work anyway, just being with the person. Now you don't even feel anything?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I should really like this person? No. No.
So you're trying, and I'm asking this because this is an inbox that I got. You're trying to force it because your
That's it
emotions
right
have
there.
failed you.
Okay.
Every time you led with your emotions,
You need
it's
to be
failed.
quiet, and you need to listen to yourself. You need to start meditating in a quiet place, in a quiet room. You need to either get up in the morning or stay up late, and you need to stop eating so much. You need to stop eating so much meat, because sometimes the meat that's carried over and how the animals have been slaughtered is built into the DNA of the meat. So now you're clogged up. You need to put some more greens in your life, some more chlorophyll in your life, so you can think more clearly. You need to drink some water, have some apple cider vinegar with the mother in it, take a tablespoon of it, and so you can actually act right and get back to trusting yourself and recalibrate your system. Your system is out of order, or her system is out of order in this case. She's no good for anybody. If you cannot feel your emotions, as a woman, you need to bring that to the table. You need to have those emotions present when you show up. Every man that I know who has told a woman, you're so emotional, he doesn't know his assets. That emotion is an asset to a man. And that man's going to take that emotion and he's going to present some logic to it. Now you two can become something. You see what I'm saying? Now, of course, you have XX and you have XY. You're XX, right? I'm XY, right? Huh? Isn't that what it is? So you can relate to me twice as well. But I got this one thing you don't have. You don't even have a why. But yet most women are asking the guy, why? Now you know. Because he has a why. I'm just saying. Why is this? Now they're asking questions. Can I ask a question? That person needs to settle down, get quiet, stretch out a 5-minute period, put a timer together, and listen to their own heartbeat. Get quiet, listen to your own heartbeat. And when you can hear your own heartbeat, invite your mate to come and listen to theirs in the same environment. Show them how to do it, being still, to listen, and when they can hear their heartbeat, now the clutter, the garbage is gone. They might start crying. You got to be prepared. When people unpack, sometimes they start crying. Sometimes they start feeling emotions that came up and they didn't even know why, so they got embarrassed. Let them know it's safe. Be in a safe environment. No interruptions, no phone, nothing. Just that person. It's only a 10-minute exercise. Sometimes you can lie in the bed with your mate and be quiet and say, I just want to hear you breathe. Or listen to me breathe, just to see. Sometimes people are breathing and they stop their breath. They're mildly suffocating themselves. And what they're looking for is release to continue a flow. Right? These are things that we can do in our relationship to get it to a place where it's not just about having sex. The sex will go up if you bring your breath into it. You can prolong orgasms by breathing differently. I won't go too far.
Please, Lord. Please, Jesus. So, and also in the top, before we kind of wrap up, so I know we talked about hope, like, about your husband, what was the question, Kay?
How do you know that, you said you would tell us how to know if you're dating your husband?
If you're dating your husband.
One of the clear ways to know if you are dating your husband is if you're open to that. Check this out. The woman who was not emotionally open, she was clogged up. It's hard for a woman to even admit that, first of all. But second of all, to recognize that she needs some help to kind of get unclogged. She doesn't need to date. She needs to chill. Not Netflix and chill, but she needs to relax away from the whole dating scene for a while and allow herself to reset. She doesn't even need sex. I went years as a celibate guy because I reset myself. Years. Some people heard it, they were like, you gotta be kidding me. I wear a size 14. My hand's not small. I'm ready. You see what I'm saying? So if I know I had to reset myself as a guy so I wouldn't hurt anybody, women feel that even deeper. How do you know if you're dating your husband? God could tell you. It's God's responsibility to talk to you. It's his responsibility to get you answers. It's your responsibility to study, which means pay attention. Right? You also have that whole brainwave conversation we talked about. This concept of brainwave becomes so powerful because there are behavior traits built into that. Thirdly, if you are approaching a man to say, this is my husband, you have sold yourself short. I would encourage you not to approach a situation with a guy to say, this is my husband. Your mind knows you're married. Your heart does not know you're married. Catch that for a minute. Your heart does not know you're married. Your mind must tell your heart that you're married. Husband, in the sense that we know it in the Western world, is a legal document. So a lot of women are walking around saying, I want my husband. All that is a legal document. You haven't even had your quiet period yet. So how do you know? It's because you stepped through the seasons into your quiet period, and you guys are now ready to go public. You have your initial public offering, which is your wedding. How do you know? You go through, in a book that I have, I talk about what's called a love octagon. There are 8 different sides. And as you travel through a love octagon, you get to a place of knowing this is the one. Some people like to say, I walked up to Terry, I knew she was the one. I knew it. Not even 3 months later, they're getting restraining orders. You know what I'm saying? So your emotions can play those tricks on you. So you still have to go through the training, the seasons, the process. And you come to know. You go on to know. And you build on top of your experiences and exchanges with this person where you come to know this is for me. Yeah. You don't walk in the store and buy a husband like you do a skirt. But if you shop in some of the stores, you have to get the skirt off the rack and go get it tailored. It is in the tailoring process that it fits you well. Am I right? That's how you know that skirt was for you. Because it's been tailored through the process of the seasons. Is that making sense? Don't buy into the stuff where people tell you, oh, you would just know. No, baby. Go through the process. Yes. That's why you see each other. You date. Spend the time. Spend some more time. Another season. I'm enjoying this. Let's be uncomfortable. How do we deal? Let's argue. How do we deal? Don't provoke the argument, but if it happens, you begin to see. Is that making sense?
It does. I had an argument with my ex. This is why he's an ex. Not because we had an argument, but because...
So, was he an ex at the time of the argument?
No.
Okay.
We were dating, and this was the 3rd time.
Why would anybody want to make you an ex? Huh?
And so, but anyway, he said some really, really nasty things to me.
Okay.
And it made me believe that's what you always felt about me. But in the time of the anger, you were able to say exactly what you thought about me. And I'm not willing to deal with it. So you're telling me, because I'd rather you step away from me and get some silent time, get your 5 minutes before you. My mother always said that, like, don't provoke it. And then don't say things in anger, because they say words don't hurt. Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
And so you can say they don't. But when people say nasty things to you, and he said nasty things to me, I knew it was that thing he had stirring inside of him.
Yeah.
And he was waiting in a moment to say it to me.
Let me encourage you like this. A lot of times, a man who says nasty things to a woman, he either has an insecurity, or he has put his emotions out on Front Street, and unbeknownst to the woman, she stepped on him. She crushed him. And there was no recovery from that. It was no recovery because she didn't even know. As sensitive as women are, sometimes they step on men and they don't even know. But as a man who gets older, more mature, we begin to realize, I need to let you know, I don't like what you're doing right now. I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. But I want to tell you, I'm uncomfortable, and I'm really upset with what you are doing right now. Now, you want a man to say that, right? But we can't.
Right.
We don't even know how we're really feeling in a lot of the moments, and it needs to evolve with us. So as a woman who seemingly has been told to be patient on a number of levels, that's where that nurture hopefully begins to kick in, because he needs nurture to get it out. men we have a responsibility not to be verbally abusive. It is unacceptable, even if we're hurt ourselves. But at some point, you do have to say, I don't need this kind of interaction. I am out. Like Shark Tank, I'm out.
No, it's the truth. Because if you've not resolved that within you, no matter how much you tell me I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it again, that's like somebody hitting you and saying I'm never going to do it again. But the moment that something triggers, because you've not, like you say, some things you have to get in that quiet moment before you even get with me. Those are still, it's not, I didn't do it to you. It was something you did not divorce yourself from.
See, it probably wasn't you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is where you go through those processes with a person and you begin to discover what falls out.
Mm-hmm.
So you really didn't go through a process with this person.
Mm-hmm.
You really didn't allow yourself to date and literally go through the process of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I did, but I ignored some of it.
Well, I said you didn't allow.
Yeah.
If you ignored you, okay. So,
no, I'm just being honest. I'm being real honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a price to pay when our instincts tell us, don't do that.
Don't keep going, but
She's fine, but hey, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we're right.
Yeah.
All right.
So thank you. That was really good. Thank you. I mean, it really makes you, I've seen them go much deeper, but it makes you really think about who you are as a person. It makes you think about, am I really dateable? And not only am I dateable, but am I paying attention to the choices that I'm making? Or am I just making these emotional choices based on a timeline, biological clock, what society tells me? If I'm not married by a certain time, surely there's something wrong with me. Or us as women charging at men and saying, you're going to marry me, or. Have you ever, remember the Martin scene where he was like, damn, Gina, will you marry me now? And she like, that's the proposal I've always waited for, Martin. And so he was like, it's that clink, clink, mentality. And so she started to, follow through with what her friends were telling her. You need to be married, you need to be married, you need to be married. For me, I was never, my parents were married for 60 years. I did not want to be married. And that's because of some of the series of things I saw go on in their marriage. And so
Why do people want to be married, but they never say, I want to be a wife?
Exactly.
They never say, okay, you know what? I really want a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we bypass the relationship and jump to some mystical, I want to be married?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be recognized at the courthouse that I have a mate. The status.
It is. It's what we think makes us whole. Like that's going to, you're not even whole yourself because you're seeking someone else to complete and fulfill that. Because clearly you don't think you're good enough. Not just because you want to be married, but because you think that's just, it's what I need. It's what I yearn for. And for me right now, I have to prepare me. I have to know that I am who God tells me I'm supposed to be for that person, in order to be able to make sure that I'm not looking for them to fill that up. I'm not looking for them to fill in this thing of me that I didn't get into a quiet place and I didn't capture my own heart. I did not as Auntie Maxine say, reclaiming my time, and deciding that I'm enough. I don't need you to do that. And that's why I said, and really through that process of going through with this guy, I decided that I started to create an imaginary friend that wasn't there. I didn't have the, you talk about the intellect, the imagination. I started to imagine stuff that I knew could never even come about. This ain't gonna happen. But I imagined it with that person, and I thought, in our head, we say, this person is the one for me, and then we want God to get us out of something that we never prayed and asked him if that was good for me in the first place. We never got in a quiet place to hear our own heartbeat, to say, Lord, is this what you have for me? And instead we just create our own we create our own world with somebody that is not for us. And if you have to spend, yes, it's nobody is going to grow overnight, but I'm also not going to spend 20 years with you while you're still trying to get that together. I'm sorry, it's somebody over here that wants to grow with me and go through seasons with me. I'm not going to spend all that time. You're not going to disrespect me, and all of that. So that's kind of
for some women, I think they feel like marriage is security. So it's not really about them not feeling a certain way about themselves. They just feel like I've been here for this amount of time. This is what's going to make me secure and where it's going, a proposal. So sometimes they look at it as security. I'm securing the bag.
But if you're good with yourself, you don't look for security. You look for harmony. You look for balance. You look for how we're going to grow together. See, they can secure you without ever marrying you. But then that, it's now we're entering into a covenant together. See, I want to be married, but we're not entering into that covenant that we know, because now every time we say security, we're looking for somebody to bring us security. Do you have security within yourself? Because once you do, they no longer, now they are adding to you. You went through the processes with them. You went through whatever, the octagon, whatever it is. And so they're not bringing you, I'm just saying, they're not bringing you the security. You all have decided to go through this together, and now you're meeting. There's a meeting of the minds. We look for certain things, and that's what we set our heads in. We set our heads on. This is where I am. This is what I want, and that's what I'm divorcing myself from. Stuff that I know, like I still am not one of the people. I don't have to be married tomorrow. I just don't. I'm sorry. I just don't need to be. And I'm not. I don't knock people that want to be. But I know that I don't want to be, because there's certain things about me that I want to do. And, I don't like when people say, let me accomplish so many things and do that. That you'll be chasing that for the rest of your life if you're trying to continue to accomplish the next thing. Why can't we do it together eventually, That's just my thought process. I don't know. That's right. We're done. We're good. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for joining in. Thank you, Nolan. Nolan, you are getting hearted up.